It's time to start, I think, revealing more of the plan, more of the idea of what Vibes is about and what we plan on doing. And the roundtable, I think we all have some input, some things that we want to discuss and share. And hopefully the conversations that we have will be able to inspire others and create ideas and share a little bit more about what we're doing overall. And maybe even share a little bit more about the personal experiences that we're going through in Armenia, so that people can see, what life is like here and what people are thinking outside of, social media conversations or what's going on in the public world. This is a little bit more of an intimate thing, Che?
Yes, non-political.
Non-political.
Exactly.
Because we don't take politics seriously.
Yeah. Bloody theater.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
So, I guess let's start with talking about the main subject of today. The subject being how the events of the last couple of months have affected us personally, individually. The war. How it's impacted our lives and personally how we feel. So, everybody.
Yeah. I mean, 2020 overall was like a stressful is COVID, this new type of enemy that this world government is using against civilians. And meanwhile, while the world is in this terror, some places like Armenia and problems such as Artsakh, it was just like right moment for them to start like military operations, which changed fates and lives of 100,000 of people, no matter that person from Georgia or even Iran. So it's a geopolitical game, and I think especially the last papers that were signed, I mean, for Armenian people, it was like a punch from a heavyweight boxer. It was just unexpected, and now, but the most important that the people have to stand on their feet, like they have to keep going and
as soon as possible, actually. Yeah.
Actually, some of them do. Clever people are doing work right now. They're doing triple work. Sometimes when you look through the eyes of media, it might look one-sided, but actually a lot of things are happening right now.
Or just two-sided. I mean, there's that too. But there's the thing that I've noticed is that a lot of what's going on in media or what the loudest people are gaining attention, but there's a lot going on under the surface, and I think people really want to see more of that. The sense that I get is, there's a lot of people trying to make personal contacts with people in Armenia to find out what's going on under the surface. And there is a lot. There are a lot of people who don't do things in the public eye, but they're working around the clock just to make sure that people are fed. There's so much private conversations going on about how to make this work, how to make that work. I get phone calls from people saying, do you know this person? I need to get in touch with them to see if we can set up a system to feed people or to bring food, to deliver food to the families that need it the most. Or, there's a lot of that kind of conversation. And I think maybe for that reason, personally, I've been less in despair than a lot of people I speak to in the diaspora, because I see the hope that exists under the surface. I'm just as devastated as everybody else, obviously, from what's been going on. And I think I'm more hurt by the fact that that we have been divided so much. I don't point fingers at anyone, and I don't blame anyone. But I do think that if there was a plan to divide Armenians, which it seems like that's the case, then it was very successful. And I think that if we just focus on the ways to solve problems, we would not be so divided. And I think that is possible among just average people, not with the government, not with any political entities, just people coming together and doing good things for others is the only way that we have forward to rebuild ourselves.
Yeah, actually within those 45 days, actually what we saw, how nation united around the cause and how Armenians have fought all around the world. They united in a different way, and it stopped now. Actually, it's time right now to be that united as it was. Like the war is not over in social way, you know.
Maybe it's easy to make masses be united, and is easy as well to make them, segregated, opposed to one another. But right now, everything is only on political level, which is sad. Cultural layer right now. Not that it's silent. The artists they paint, they think, they come up with an idea, but we lost the contact with them. The nation lost the contact with them already for decades, and that's the saddest part. If we had this cultural not even institution, understanding in our education, in our minds, if it was like on solid grounds, in a way, now Armenians would have been like so much more solidified, consolidated as one.
Everybody's trying to talk about how much damage is being done to our cultural heritage and to our churches and everything, but we can respond to it by simply putting what we have now and everything that we create and everything that we do on a pedestal and share it with the world to remind them that we're not
finished.
We're not finished, exactly.
We're just starting.
We're still going to keep creating, and we're still going to keep playing music and making art. And there's no doubt that in the world, people perceive us as this incredibly talented cultural society that inspires. I mean, we've seen it with all of the artists that have performed and inspired people to donate and inspired people to, feel their emotions and go through their experiences and understand who they are. The songs that the live sessions that we've been putting out there has reached people. They have, definitely responded and said that this has helped them heal. And the more that we keep doing this, the more that musicians keep finding a way to reach out to people, I think the more the merrier. The more we can heal, the more we can move forward. So we need to put a focus on this. We need to we need to make that connection, make that bridge, so that people can hear what's going on in the hearts and minds of the artists of Armenia.
Yeah,
exactly. And knowing also the history of oneself, of the nation or country or past, and the right history, not the history that was romanticized, based on real facts. And right now, after the independence, it took maybe 30 years just now starting some institutes like Ashot Hovanesyan Institute, who does researches on those stuff, and mainly their target is, as in the beginning of the century 20th, a lot of Armenians were going to Europe to study, and they were writing their dissertation. So, and most of them are unknown to Armenian people, and those are works how to develop Armenia, this and like on different levels, be that historical, like Komitas and such kind of people. They went to study in Europe, and they tested the dissertation. So, right now, this institute, they translate all of this to Armenian and trying to bring kind of the other perspective, the missing puzzle. which is important. And like this fractionistic mindset, I mean, is with Armenian people for thousands of years. It's not a secret, even before fall of Armenian kingdom. And when half of Armenia was under Seljuks, another half under Persians, and imagine those two countries have problems with each other. And as well as Armenian communities, because like life forces you to certain things, and we know like facts. I've been reading one of the books like Israel Ori and Armenian Azadagrakan Paikar. How you translate that? Armenian Azadagrakan.
Word for word. Struggle for freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that concept, where does it come from? It's interesting, and I think kids should study even in the schools in the material instead of in their history classes. Again, reading the parts from Rafi Samvel, which is hilarious in a way. Like you have to pass that on the literature class. So better to get acquainted to such small but crucial moments of Armenian history to understand our psychology, and based on it, to know how to act.
But what you're talking about is on within Armenia. Speaking on the diasporan front, I mean, a lot of the divides come from there, and it starts with the language in itself. Speaking to a few people in America, one of the biggest problems is that people refuse to teach Eastern Armenian in the Armenian schools. And this is going to create a problem for communication. Just the difference in terms of perception on Armenian history, starts with the language and the literature that they're reading. So it's not just one subject or another, it's everything. And even then, you have Armenians going to Armenian schools still speaking English in America. And wherever they are in the rest of the world, they're speaking those languages of the countries that they're living in. So there needs to be some sort of connection with Armenia itself. I myself did not speak Armenian until I came to Armenia in 2001, and I was forced to speak it because I had no other way to communicate. There were so few people speaking English at the time, so I had no choice. But if I hadn't done that, I mean, I still struggle to understand Armenian to an extent, but there's a lot that I know that I missed out because of that gap. That was me growing up second generation in America, or first generation. My parents came from Iran and they were speaking fluent Armenian with me, but I would respond in English. So imagine the generation now, their literature in Armenian schools is decades old, and their understanding of Armenian history is completely different from what's going on in Armenia, from what people study in Armenia. I envy the kids here that have the opportunity to even learn what they're learning here. And I look forward to seeing what my kids are going to learn. But that divide needs to come to an end. Not that they should drop everything that they learn and learn what's happening here, but there needs to be an integration of curriculums that people can...
a unified curriculum, basically.
A unified curriculum, yeah.
Where people in the diaspora have to learn both Armenians, Western and Eastern.
And let there be Western Armenian taught here as well.
If anything, it'll just avoid miscommunication or misunderstanding.
Exactly.
Like, just at a very basic level. Like, leave it alone, like, each other's cultures, and I see having West and Eastern Armenian as a harustutuna.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have two kinds
Exactly.
of Armenian. We have
Yeah.
two kinds of cuisine.
Yeah.
We have two kinds of everything. So
Instead of fighting them against
Exactly.
each other, they can be together.
they need to celebrate each other.
coexist,
They need to
celebrate
celebrate
each
each other's cultures.
I mean, when you, the alphabet Armenian, when you say like I, Ben, Gim, the words, the codes, those are codes.
Yeah.
Actually, meaning of which it exists, but not so many people know about this. But those are codes to open certain energy dimensions. That's when they say Armenian language is powerful. It means also that level. It comes from there. So having that treasures and just not using them properly, it means not having them. And this divisionist, I mean, it's a sign. It's like, again, a division. One part of Armenians don't accept the other part.
Actually, the other day, I discovered that Western Armenia has a president. 3 presidents.
Yeah.
Then I
they already had a
discovered
revolution.
3
And a prime
presidents.
minister.
I mean, in this era
Another
of
Catholicos,
sitcoms, I mean, it's an
and,
amazing story. Imagine, like, a president, Western Armenia, such country which doesn't exist. And then he brings a prime minister, which then becomes a second president, but like he takes a land and separates another country. Then comes a third one who's going to be a prime minister, who does a reform, a revolution kind of, and changes the system to parliamentary.
I think they have 20,000
and they
citizens.
have 20,000 citizens.
Yes, yeah, they have 20,000.
And they have the
How are
ID
you
cards.
Armenians?
There. It's like, can you explain me how this possible? Like having 3 presidents. Okay, they might have a head, but like 3 of them.
No.
It's all on
we already
paper.
have
There's nothing-
had 3 presidents. So basically, there's like 3 revolutions, and that happened.
At least they don't.
This is
have
the
it.
most Armenian thing
But
ever.
like, imagine
All the
it's,
same apartment.
it's so much way much more peaceful than actual presidents that are failures and kill people. So
Yeah, let's make
it's like-
everybody president. Let's go. Everyone is a president.
That's also a national thing, I suppose. It's like a very nice explanation of mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
pretty much. It is. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's, for me, the whole idea of dividing Armenians in general is there's more that unites us, and the more that we focus on something is the more it becomes the reality. And we can sit here and focus on our differences, and we can sit here and make these divides, but at the end of the day, you can't doubt that every Armenian inside them, there isn't a single Armenian that I've spoken to in the last week that hasn't expressed incredible pain for what's been happening. And to deny each other of that pain, and to assume that any other Armenian is wishing for, failure or loss or any of this kind of things is, I think, is not fair. So there needs to, in my perspective, there needs to be more respectful speech among us, so that we can heal from the divide more. I understand people are angry, and people have their reactions for their own reasons, and people have their very strong opinions, which, you know what, I have my own. I'm not going to express them, but I have them, and I believe that regardless of what my own opinions are, the best way to heal is to be able to do the things that we're doing. Vibes is one thing. There are so many other people out there that can do so much more. They might not be doing it publicly. They might be doing it just, one person hosting a family from Artsakh. It might be somebody who's just not even saying anything online, but they're donating thousands and thousands of dollars privately without anybody knowing. There are these types of things happening. And criticizing each other publicly is just adding to the wound. And I hope that we can get past that.
Yeah, it's become very aggressive. The second you're on Facebook and you're reading somebody's post, and even if like you don't agree or disagree with what he's saying, just simply expressing your opinion, you're being immediately labeled and attacked. And I understand people are angry. I understand they want somebody to blame. If there's anybody to blame, I think we should all blame ourselves for letting these politicians get away with what they got away with so far for the past 30 years in Armenia. And prior to that, my opinion, the best form of recovery for that is actually working. This too much blood has been spilled over these lands, not enough sweat, I think. It's time to, start working. And what do you guys think, like, for our viewers that are watching this, like, what can we give them as a message of, like,
Well, somebody
People abroad need to know this from people from Armenia, and like we need to tell them, okay, guys, this subject needs, attention. We need to do this, we need to do that, and let them work for it.
For that, the overall mood of the nation, it's really destructive now. You can feel that. Everybody is very sensitive and in an aggressive way. And a very important moment to change this from destructive to constructive way. And then people will start looking for opportunities to make steps to change for the better. Because so far, it's like, it seems very, you better leave Facebook, actually.
Twitter first, then
I think,
sure.
I absolutely agree, and I don't like the word revolution, because you have to destruct. I'm more like inclined towards evolutions, because like I'm sorry, but for fuck's sake, just for one generation, we want to live the evolution way of like developing than revolutionizing. So cultural awakening, and especially for the people who represent a nation which has a long history of changes, from paganism through Zoroastrianism to Christianity, and collecting all this in our subconscious as a nation. We carry this. It means we have a lot. But when it comes to share and to act, we act as if we are just like a completely new nation. Actually, in a way, we are like 30-something years old as an independent government. And imagine, since like 1,000 years, fall of Armenian kingdom, like understanding of government, understanding of a country. You're independent, you're Armenian. And while Armenians were here and it was their country, we have a lot of like Jews were living here. A lot of people, a lot of other nations, other races were like we were sharing. Because like if Armenian king can bring a princess, a wife, a Chinese princess, so it means each Armenian can marry. So, but when fall of Armenian kingdom, what the nation do? Like actually, it starts to survive. So in the land of, in others' lands, which actually their land, indigenous to those, like under Persia or Seljuks, they try to actually survive. And we're coming to a period when Russian Tsarism is interested in those lands, comes here, and with, I don't know, stupidity or what, with a luck, Armenians finally got some independence. Bolsheviks, I don't know what happened, because Bolsheviks are always evil. And we see the results. Yeah. So taking the lands. Okay, when we came to Caucasus, you weren't the first one who wanted Bolshevism. That's why we're taking this lands from you, Armenia, and giving them to Turks. Yeah. So it was like this bad joke that Lenin, bastard, I don't know.
Everything that you just spoke about, it makes you realize how much Armenia is in the middle of so many different cultures and connected to so many of them, and yet you live here and you feel isolated from all of it. Yeah. It's like we live in an island in the middle of this incredibly diverse cultural part of the world, and we don't partake in any of it because we are literally in a mindset of survival, like you said. I mean, in order to maintain our own identities and our own way of life, we need to block everything else out. It's sad, really, because there is so much to explore and so much to engage with everybody around us, but the politics of this region and the global interests in this part of the world have become such a burden and such a weight on these borders that have created this dependency on other countries, and this chess game that's become where we've just become a pawn that's moved around.
Yeah, as politicians, or I guess like most of them, are like puppets in the hands of some powers which tried to hide so many years, but slowly it's sin. Who and what controls the world, and actually, it's not politics. That's the game. While you are just that mind wanking, you are following what's happening. Actual things are happening behind the scenes. We've seen here, like right now, the Artsakh war. It was just there. It was like political games. Like innocent people go fight, think that the land belongs to you, but in the end, it turns out you were fighting for the oil oligarchs and people like this. Actually,
that's what I was saying. Whenever we speak not to Kalkanasnang, it's always whatever you talk.
It pulls you back in, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't bring the solution through politics.
Yes.
When it comes to politics, I agree with the concept that everyone should go to voting on all of the countries and vote against everyone. We are against the system, not a person. The system makes them ugly. Even the one who is potentially good or can make good somehow gets to that system. People love to call it chair. But the system makes them the way it's like, I don't want to even continue.
You can't fight them if you're not amongst them. And once you're amongst them, you're already sucked in and you don't know what you're fighting for anymore. And then,
but can we not depend on them?
If human beings all across the world unite and take a stand against the political system that exists, yes. But that unification has not happened in the last...
Yeah. Imagine like the recent war that just happened. Imagine people on both ends said, we're not fighting, man. We're not going to fight.
Yeah.
Nicole,
there's no war if you want.
Do what you want,
exactly.
You know? Yeah. We're not fighting.
Yeah,
that's
it's like, American wrestling, that's theater. It's like politics.
Exactly. And it's not just Armenia, it's everywhere. I mean, you look at all the people living around the world, even America, even Russia, even everywhere you look, there are people fighting against their own governments and people within their own countries being oppressed or silenced or struggling.
Also, there's a whole movements. If you pay attention, it's happening in Africa. It's happening in Pakistan. I believe at some certain point have it here. Is now the governments have this Zarakir program to ethnically cleanse their own people. Like, it's phenomenal how, like, for instance, Pakistan is going after the Baluch. The Baluchs are the original landowners. They're the indigenous people. And there's every day the army's killing these people. The Yemen did it to the Houthis. It's Africans are doing it. Like, it's crazy. It's really crazy. It's like they're trying to get rid of all the old people, trying to, I guess, break the gene somehow, modify the new genes, and just have their way with the people. Yeah. That's it.
Or break ways with the past in order to, people who are less accustomed to traditions are easier to mold. Sure?
Absolutely. And also, I truly believe the land itself, if it loses the people because people are part of it, if it loses its indigenous people, it loses its strength, Like, when you're feeling like, okay, you're connected, that, when people take off their shoes and they walk on barefoot on dirt and stuff, it feels different. When you're breaking that cycle, you're breaking that people. I don't think they know what the reaction is going to be. They're trying, but I think if they literally accomplish all that, might be like a natural disaster somewhere. So you never know.
Could be. The people in America. I'm testing my memory now, but there have been, I think, Native Americans in Western America that have been saying that if you keep pulling the water from the land, you're going to see more fires, and it's happening. And they were saying if you don't set the fires to burn out the dried land. Somebody help me out here. I know the result of the story. I have to remember the specifics
controlled
of it.
Fires.
But basically, they were saying, yes, controlled fires are what keep the land from burning.
Yep.
And because that has stopped, because Americans have enforced laws that have prevented that, now they're seeing more forest fires, and it's out of control. It's the understanding of how the land works and how things, that connection with the land that the indigenous people have, that when you separate from that, then you lose knowledge and understanding of the land. And that's
what did Trump say to the Australians? If you keep raking, that wouldn't have happened. Wasn't there something like that?
Yeah.
One at a time, please. By the way, the Western Armenian Prime Minister's Tigran Pashabezyan.
Tigran Pashabezyan. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Vazrig.
The voice of God.
Yes.
The voice within. So yeah,
Yes.
actually, what we've been talking about reminds me of from the book 1984, George Orwell's, when there's a quote saying, "I understand how, but I don't understand why."
Nice.
Why are they doing this? Like this evil, beside evil, it won't bring any benefit. Like if someone thinks that especially protracted wars will bring benefit, like both sides are losers actually.
Yep.
All sides are.
All sides.
Sides are losers, but individuals gain control and power. And this is my concern, that the human mind, given enough power, will never be satisfied. They will always go after more power and greed.
More.
And they're not. If you look at it, people in power are mentally unstable, if anything, because they're not capable of seeing their own the effects of their own greed on the bigger picture. And you kill the earth enough, it's not gonna. You depend on the earth as well. You cannot exist without oxygen. You cannot exist without food. And the people who provide those things for you are nature and human beings.
Like Eddie Vedder said in his song Society, we have a greed with which we have a greed. You know, and it's insane that we're actually okay with this greed now. It's become a norm, you know.
That's
New
horrible.
normal.
That's horrible. Like yesterday, I was reading some quotes about war, and like I found one like, "No one wins at war. It is true there are degrees of loss, but no one wins."
Yeah.
Because in the end, you will again come to negotiations in a way. Because especially with your neighbors, you have to start trading. You have to start trading on all of the layers with your culture, with the goods that you produce, and.
Become strong.
Actually, it could have happened like 30 years ago or whatever. And my personal hope that the future generation will be on building not drones, but like good relations, and even one day like not having visa issues together, but Armenians being strong enough to keep their identity. Last 30 years, it was in blockade, the country. It was the amazing time to get into a shape culturally, understand who you are, like understand you as you're in your independent country. That, like those guys, actually very few was done for the people, but the young generation, because of maybe independence, that had that we call it like they have the strength, that energy, maybe the understanding of independence. They were born in an independent land.
So we need to spend as much time as possible getting our own identities, our own history, our own stories told to all of the other Armenians first, in whatever language that it takes, so that all Armenians can be proud of who they are, know who they are, and not fear the threat of losing it. Because in the diaspora, I think people fight so hard to defend their identity, but they don't even know what that identity is. There's always been a battle over what makes a true Armenian, if speaking Armenian makes you a true Armenian. And because of third generation, fourth generation Armenians, there's always been this defensive-ness, and I think it's fair, that the speaking Armenian is not the only thing that creates the Armenian identity.
Oh, right. We've seen just the Azerbaijani general speaking Armenian and saying vicious things. Yeah, so
Seriously threatening us in Armenian.
It's true, but to some extent, and I know people who don't speak Armenian at all, and their parents don't speak Armenian at all, but they understand more about Armenian music than I do. And as long as you are engaging with your culture in a way that is on a deeper level that means something to you, and you are no longer feeling that defensiveness about defending your identity, then you are capable of carrying on the culture in one way or another. Yes, we need to keep our Armenian language, but we also need to keep the story, we need to keep the music, we need to keep the culture in a way that will not be lost with war or anything else. It will go on.
With a culture, music, especially song type of music or melody, has a magnific power that it can get into you, inside you, and it can live there. And especially in the 21st century, 20th century, when we have everywhere music being played, in the restaurants, in the car, it's on subconscious level, it's an amazing tool to reach people. What we've been doing for the last 30 years for our subconscious, we've been listening to Turkish, Arabic, cheap music, translated into Armenian, and that's sad. Subconsciously, we've been fed Turkish music, and subconsciously or consciously,
and told
we've
it's
been
Armenian.
Armenian people everywhere.
That's the
That's
the
the
amazing
issue.
part.
Like, listen to Turkish music if you're going to listen to it,
Yes,
but admit that it's
exactly.
Turkish.
Listen how beautiful it is with Turkish language, with all its ornaments and everything. Why we keep murdering ourselves, thinking, okay, once Turks were oppressors, we were under their rule, and when we wanted to renovate our house, we wanted to renovate as a Turk. Yes, he had money. Actually, Komitas writes this. And actually, like this, we started to lose our identity. You bring someone to play in your house, and he's an Armenian musician. You say, I pay you more, but if you can play with those ornaments, like those Turkish neighbors and music, so I pay you more. And slowly, this urban culture broke the back of Armenian, of understanding who is Armenian. That's why Komitas said, like, pure Armenian songs I heard and I wrote from women. And it was Harsanekan Yerker, bride songs, because it came through generation, like, or carpet, they're making carpets, the designs of carpets, because it came from mother to the daughter. And it kept it Armenianness. Because while the husband was out in Shuka, in Bazaar, so he brought all of these other colors, which is organic, actually. But right now, it came time with Komitas, Leo, and people like this, like, to separate, to understand it's bad or good, like, it's not us. It was attached to us during certain period of time, but like now after the independence, with this blockade, with all those cultures, Armenians stayed alone there. But what they did, they just enjoyed the art, diverted art of their suppressors, instead of coming out something new. Independence Armenia, instead of you have an independent, what you do, you make a cinematography, you make an amazing movie about history of Armenia, I don't know, Tigran Metz, Bob Takov, or anyone, Aram Grigoryan, so many guys. What we did Merbag. Guys, Merbag, it's just like hilarious. It can be, obviously, it should be there, but like it shouldn't be the emblem and the representation of the era, which actually became. And all of them are, in a way,
we have more to offer.
Have part on losing this battle.
How would you call all this in one
Boshism.
name? Boshism?
Bosha. I mean, like not understanding who you are, and like this half nomadic understanding of your culture, and especially, I'm sorry to tell, they are like all the Armenians around the world are in a way heroes that they could keep their identity so far from the rest. Imagine a person living in Australia and keeping their Armenians. It's a beautiful thing because we are valuable and we are precious by our, cultural differences. If everywhere will grow the same flower, we won't appreciate flowers. We appreciate because each mountain has a different flower, different flavor. So same with people, same with the nations, their cultures. How can person go conquer a land and ruin the church. That actually is part of the value, the treasure of that land.
Or erase the words on
Yeah,
it.
if you control the past, you can control the future. If you control the future, you control the present. So based on this, short-minded, short-sighted dictators, they keep doing these mistakes.
Or they're doing it intentionally.
Yeah.
Actually,
For control.
Control.
Yeah. Yeah, no, what you said about every diasporan learning about their identity around the world. And I mean, Armenians, throughout the last century, have gone to other parts of the world and brought their culture with them and adapted it to where they are. But I'll tell you, for example, anytime I go to America, I always start listening to three musicians the most. The musicians. I listen to Komitas, I listen to Khachaturian, and I listen to Khachatur Avedisyan. I don't know why. When I'm in Armenia, I don't listen to them as much. I've tried to lately, but when I'm in America, for some reason, like Aryunus Kashuma, I feel like I need to have that.
it's kind of a substitute for personally being on the land
Yeah.
or talking. It's
Like when I'm
Connection.
here, I don't feel like I have anything missing. Bakas Banchika. I'm here and I feel Armenian and I'm interacting with people in Armenian and I'm living life like normal. I go to concerts when there's no COVID. I go, my kids go to Armenian school. Like there's this constant interaction that makes me feel like I don't have to account for anything. But when I'm in America, I suddenly get in my car and I'm living this life that I've lived all of my life since I was born. But for some reason, maybe because my parents had always had that, they've created the home with that Armenian culture. I remember my father putting Khachaturian on in the car when we would drive home from like Barahandeses. We would go to Harut dance. But my dad would always put something. He always had komitas in the house. He always had these things that became part of my identity, my existence, my being. So for that reason, when I'm not here, and when I came here, I remember in '94 when I came here, I was in Gyumri, and even though I didn't understand a word anybody was saying to me, even though I felt so different from everybody else, I remember a moment where I was sick for a little while. I had like a cold. And I remember I sat in the middle of the mountains and I just looked out into the mountains and I took a deep breath. And I felt this overwhelming peace come into me, as if my entire life up until that point was waiting for that moment. I was 16 years old, but something in me understood that my physical existence makes more sense breathing this land and air than it does sitting in Washington, D.C., going to American schools or whatever. There was so much calm that came over me. And since that day, that's why I ended up being here. People keep asking how I ended up here. That was the moment that it started me on that path. So this connection to the land is important. But the music that we create, the music that comes from this land, allows us to keep it wherever we go in the world, to keep that existence within us. And that's why we need to do this more.
Yeah, like Komitas touched so many topics. Like he says, body of a nation is the land. It's your body. You have to understand everything about your body. And the soul of it is its song. Song/culture. Song. And so by unification of this both, understanding that soul within the body, where it ends, where it starts, it's very important. And I think diaspora also goes through evolution in a way. Personally, I experienced through our concerts, through the years that we've been, in the 90s and early 2000s, we've been playing in Jasha Saras, where people, Armenians, having a band or music or anything from Armenia, but somehow the way they think they have to sit and eat and like this Barahandes, and slowly it changed. It was like so funny. Once we had a sound engineer and actually a guy from New York who worked with like really great legends. So it's like, can I come what is this Armenian community concert? We drove, and it's like people reading kebab with barins and waiting us to play Changulu, which is like heavy chords. Like, it's like what? But like, for example, and through the years, and imagine like you go to a TV in Los Angeles. We can consider more advanced Armenian community thing. It's like, and we on a TV, Armenian TV, it's like we had a call. It's like, when is your next show? It's like, this date we're playing at Whiskey Go-Go. It's like, okay, and when are you going to play for Armenians? It's like, okay, we never thought that Armenians are not allowed to go to Whiskey Go-Go. And slowly and it's like for me it's like, oh, Los Angeles, like crazy. And like the last time actually last time I've seen no flags, or even like you're going to a club and you see like Armenian young people are coming, it's their wild national thing, like your, I don't know, maybe Mexican friends, like you go do your Armenian thing, I don't want to come. But now the young generation wants to bring their friends and want to go to something which is by itself valuable. Not that it's from Armenia. No, by itself it's valuable. Mm-hmm. And instead, in the past, that we were like our diaspora spending money only on the Fidai or like Harena Siragan bands or song going, and like and actually now we have to pay attention on our modern contemporary art, our modern songwriters, the value that today the artists create that tomorrow will become culture. It's impossible for 3,000 years sing the same song. It's important to remember them. But imagine if English or German would have sang their folk songs always. No Bach, no Mozart, no Beatles, nothing. We always sing the same songs and cover them. How you cover them? Jazz was invented. You do a cover Armenian folk song in jazz, but jazz was invented by people who were looking forward, trying to break the rules. Actually, we have here people, very few, but we have those who try to breaking the laws of the past in the art, bringing new, but not losing the Armenianness, the source of it.
The code.
And our people, our audience around the world, and especially around the world, because we have this big treasure called community around the world. They have to value this part of Armenian culture. Re-evaluating what we have, because it's there, guys. Actually, there is not much to invent. It's there. We have to find those people. We
have to build the bridges, bro. We have to show the people abroad.
We know that most talented people... Yeah.
That's what Vibes is doing. Actually.
That's what we're doing, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no better time than now, because I mean, during the 90s, when I was going to concerts and listening to Gor and Bambir and Laveli, and literally wondering like, how do I get the diasporans to listen to this and understand that this is happening? Mm-hmm. My mind was blown away, because I was growing up in the Barahandeses and the listening to all of those songs, and I mean, that inspired the Armenian pride in me. But when I came here, it continued, it growed more, and I wanted to share that. And now that the internet is the way that it is, and we're able to share these things, let's use it to do that. And I really think that people are starting to pick up on it.
Let's make a tour.
But I want to hear the rest of his thought.
Let's make a tour.
Yeah, dear audience, help us to achieve this, because the bands that we are actually recording, our first time behind the camera in a way, like having a live set, because we didn't have much here in Armenia. Public TV had once in a while, but public TV, they won't bring everyone. So the deeper you go to underground, the more precious things you might find. But like the public media won't bring them to or play them. So our channel is kind of that organic, natural way of finding the artists, be that musician, be that in future painters, because Armenians, because like collective, when it comes to doing collective things, it's a bit hard for Armenians. Football, I don't know, theater, movies, but like amazing painters, like tradition, a school of painting that Armenians have. And when you go, I don't know, you can enter in Switzerland a bank and see a painting of an Armenian which is your neighbor, and it's like, oh my God, it hangs on the sweater, but Gyumri people don't know even if he's a painter, and it's like, he's painted. So what's 100%. Do something
No, but seriously, let's work on this tour. I think it's a phenomenal idea.
If we can organize this and with the bands, with the help of the audience who loves a couple of bands and 2 caravans, amazing.
And you know what? Let our viewers choose what bands they want from our live sessions that we've been done. You know,
Right.
like I think that's it's a great idea.
Yeah, guys, because not all the countries have
Nice.
diasporas. Only very few, like Irish. Linn, you're pretty much acquainted with it.
Well, I have in my, it's my little dream until my 40s to manage a cultural project of exchange with Armenian and Irish culture. But besides culture, we take the system, how it details, what details they use, Irish people, because Irish land, they kind of, there are lots of similarities actually between Irish and Armenian cultures.
We're Irish and Irish are Armenian. That's the
And actually some of them say like
exactly, yeah. Actually,
the Christianity came from Armenians.
Even in Gaelic language, the alphabet of Gaelic, they have so many similar letters with Armenian alphabet. So when you see this, it causes questions in your mind. How come it happened? And you follow, you understand the religion. Also, same Irish people were first who adopted Christianity in Europe. So it's like, and being an isolated land, being an island, with people we met people who never left an island. I mean, they never been to the big land, not the big land. They were locals, you know, and so many mentality, vision, and plus the government rules really nice. They have the best solutions. They have a strong IT sector. Like we have lots to share, exchange, and we have both nations. We have big diasporas, so we have to exchange. So this little
that's
vision
a cool
I have,
project, man.
yeah,
that
and
is.
to learn and to exchange, because I know Irish people. We've been there. We stayed for a year in Dublin and whole Ireland. We traveled a lot. People, my dean, Pat Cook, if he heard me, hears me, I don't know, he might hear us this talk. He once called me to his room and asked, Linn, I'm on this Irish board on diasporan questions, and we were doing research on countries that have big diasporas and can share. We want to learn tools how to exchange. And we saw Armenia there in the list, one of the first countries that has a huge diaspora. It's like, how Armenians work with the diaspora? Do they have tools? Can you teach us, guys? Can you contact us with someone in Armenia? On that moment, it was before revolution, and the system, the Ministry of Diaspora, now it's a committee. It used to be a ministry, and the minister, she was one of those, I don't know, monsters. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now she's not there. Now it's a committee. Anyway, at that time, they didn't have a proper way to even to provide information on what they do, basically. And how we could I was offered, there is a lady, she advised me, she said I better don't. Wait a little, let it change, let it evolve, then talk to them, because it's խայտարակություն կլինի. Ավելավաճ խայտարակվենք. So now it's a chance, because we have the community, we have people all around the world. We don't have a proper state on the lands we have. We just lost the war, and it's very painful, but it happened. So what's next? We have to come up with a vision. We have to vibe together as a nation. So, yeah.
And
vibe.
And honestly, I mean, on the political level, what we're doing doesn't have to happen within the political world. I mean, for example, all of these other organizations around the world have political affiliation, maybe, or they have to go through proper channels. So, I mean, I can tell you personally, Hamazgain is the main cultural organization that we grew up with. And my mom was running Hamazgain for I don't know how many years. And all respect to them. They've done amazing things. But I think the new generation needs to come up and make these connections that we're talking about, because the older generation is struggling to bring the new kids into their older system.
Yeah.
But I think we have the ability to use our generation and our tools and our connections to do it outside of the political sphere. I think we don't need to wait for ministries or organizations to be able to make these cultural connections that allow us to spread to make these collaborations with other countries. Because I think, I'm dying to see more about these relationships between Ireland and Armenia. And I keep hearing people talking about how they're going to do more research into it. And I am always waiting to see that come out, and I haven't seen it yet. So I think there's an interest, and I think there's a curiosity about how Armenians have created these relationships in the past, and how our history has led us to other parts of the world that have created impact on other cultures. I'd love to see more of that. How, Ethiopia and Armenia have a similar
a lot, yeah,
cultural elements as well. So we can do it. We don't have to wait for a ministry.
So we have to keep our heritage. We have to develop what we have in the roots, and we have to look to the future.
Yeah, like for example, that's why Pat Cook, actually, he was shocked knowing that Armenian government actually doesn't do anything to keep the diasporas alive. It's Armenians, people, not a structure. They have this understanding of being together and keeping their identity, which can go through generations, because they have this antidote living under the rule of other countries and being afraid that they might be wiped out. So they have this self kind of preserving strong sense.
Defensive. We're always defensive.
Yeah.
We'll always put up walls around us.
Mm-hmm. So those walls should also be inside, build strong walls. Yeah. To understand who Armenian is, and right now is the right time. And one of the sessions our guys were saying, like, I think it's an amazing time to try. If you've never been to Armenia, this COVID thing's will over, just come here for a while. Just be here. If you're thinking about Armenia and you are sad, I understand, because far away, sometimes emotionally you're broken. It's when such things happen. When you're here on the land, you act. It's like kind of a therapy on a way.
Very much.
So you do, and you're in the movement, and you help the cause. So if everyone thinks too much, worries too much, buy a ticket, come here.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I'll pick you up from the airport.
Yeah,
promise.
If you can't, if they really can't, they can help the fundraise, like the fundraisers we do, and help.
Yeah, I think our next step needs to be really defining what our next projects are going to be, because I know that there are a lot of people that really want to contribute. And even on the cultural side, there have been some people who've expressed a concern about the fact that they noticed that, during the last war, people had to start selling their musical instruments and finding any means possible in order to survive. And they wanted to see if there was any initiative taking place in Armenia to prevent that, to make sure that musicians are still able to create music, artists are still able to paint and create art. So I think there is an understanding out there that this needs to happen, and let's focus on that. Let's make the next projects. Let's define them. Yes. And then put them out there and see which ones people want to support. Sure. And we will put our energy behind all of it in one way or another. I think that's for us healing, is to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's understand our artists, what they do. Once a Georgian person said, like, why Armenians, when they see a person with a guitar, they have to do a bad comment? It's like, actually, when they see an actor, when it's like, when are you going to do something serious? Like, are you a clown? When we stop doing that and start appreciating, especially those professions that are, you have worked with intangible things. It's not with a material. So when we start to value those people who create ideas that will, create and educate generation, when we start value those people,
to some extent, I think there is some hesitation because some people have defined their identities so much on one specific aspect of the Armenian culture that they're not able to broaden it. I can tell you personally, it was very hard for me to come to Armenia and let go of the already defined identity that I had of myself. So when I came here to live the first time, I had a lot to process, to accept that I need to embrace what's happening here and let go of what I understood Armenia to be in my head, in living in Boston or New York or DC. So there is a sort of vulnerability that comes with what you're talking about. And I think that we're all very vulnerable right now. Yeah. So maybe this is the time for us to all let our guards down and really embrace all aspects of Armenian culture, including the evolution of it that you were talking about.
Yeah. Evolution.
And that's why artists should immediately, if they start creating.
Not only artists.
And everyone. It comes to musicians and artists, because immediately what they produce art, they do art. And through time, that art changes and becomes part of culture, or it stays out. It won't become part of the culture of Armenian people. And artists don't invent immediately culture. They invent art. So, and now our artists should kind of picture, trying to transfer the feelings of the people here and the ideas. And actually that will remain. Because right now, I'm not saying Armenians will wipe out, not at all, the opposite. But for example, from ancient cultures, what is remaining? Their culture. From ancient cultures, from ancient countries like Egyptian. We don't know how much meat they consumed per year, but we know what culture and what heritage they gave to the world. But in the end of the day, we understand that the culture is most valuable thing, is like what we leave behind. And if we have a good mindful culture that we understand who we are, we can't be unhappy, we can't be poor.
Can't be angry.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Hard to achieve.
Can't
like war is over.
Defensive.
Like old Zen saying, war is over if you want it. John and Yoko, they use this, but it's old Zen concept. And I think you were saying, like, if we mindfully understand who the real enemy is, not that person, just that young soldier who's like 20 years old and
18, 19, insane.
And
kids
brainwashed and manipulated.
If we mindfully understand it, immediately war will be over on two sides.
Yeah.
Yep.
Guys, this is continuous, and these talks, those are like friendly talks, right? We don't have any,
Agendas.
pretentious, or agendas. Just sharing the reality that we live in here in Armenia.
So the next time you guys can come visit, you can come visit us.
Yeah.
You get to know us and
Exactly.
come visit us. And maybe help us.
Help us, yeah. We're taking volunteers.
We haven't
In
given
every
up
way
on
possible.
Armenia. Neither should you guys. So
Were there any ideas like that? I
No.
never even thought
We
of
didn't
that.
even consider that.
Yeah. No, the opposite. And I think this format roundtable, sometimes will be more people, sometimes less, sometimes we'll have guests. And
Vazrig is over there, actually. Don't forget about it.
yeah.
We're four with a little ghost in the corner. So I think what we'll do now is we'll probably sit down and like really start to develop the ideas that we have for the next projects. The heaters, I think, are going in the right direction, and they're going to be so useful. And I I think actually the design of it and the creation of it, there have been people who love it so much that they want to buy it themselves because it
I've
looks
had a
so
few
cool.
guys, I was like, let's get them warm first, and then
So we're
we can
going
make
to
those for
focus
you.
on heating the families first, and that's something tangible that's in front of us that we're able to do, and doing it is helping them and us at the same time. And then the next projects are going to be along these lines. We're going to respond to whatever the need is out there, and whatever culturally along the lines of what we've talked about today, we can physically produce and actually do. And the live sessions are part of it as well. Those are things that we've done, with the means of our own resources. But the more people engage with us, and the more that the more that we share with you, and the more that you share back with us, we'll be able to organically move forward.
Also, if you guys out there have any ideas and you guys need us to activate it somehow, if it's a good idea and if it meets, I don't want to say principles, but it's kind of like it vibes with us.
It vibes.
Exactly.
Let's do it. We're here.
Yeah, we're very responsive to people's
Absolutely.
ideas.
We're here for each other, and that includes you guys. So let's do it.
So actually, there is a big teams right now. Vibes like camera guys, sound people, and actually one of the best that right now we have in the country. Everyone just joined the cause, and we just are becoming one big tribe. And actually, whatever potential is there, we want to be helpful, and not to reinvent bicycles, but to lend a hand and be together and build it together. Because,
bring people, best ideas, trust, all of it back to the table and move forward and to
Complete
the
the
future.
circle.
Yeah.
Yep.